The coronavirus is spreading like wildfire and creating worldwide pandemonium and fear. This is frightening to experience as an adult. Imagine what it must feel like to experience this as a child. Children often have irrational fears like there's a monster under their bed or broccoli is evil. As parents, we can deal with those because those are thoughts and beliefs we can disprove. But what do we do when the monster we're dealing with is real and very frightening and heading our way? Even if you happen to have specific conversations with your children about the virus, their lives might already be affected by it. They might be seeing people on the street wearing masks, which can be really frightening for them. They may have had plans that are being canceled, like travel plans, or maybe school has been canceled and they're quarantined at home. When there's big life disruptions like this, or really scary things that they're seeing on their street, it's really important to have conversations with your children so that they know that they can come to you and talk to you about their fears. In this video, I'll talk about what fear is and how it impacts us both physically and emotionally. It's really important to understand this part because if you understand how fear works and operates, then you can help your children better when you see that they're getting scared. I'll also give you some strategies and coping skills that you can use for your children and for yourself to help manage stress, anxiety, and fear. Let's talk about fear. Fear is the body's alarm system, alerting us that we are in danger and that we need to do something. In its basic form, fear is neither good or bad. It's just an alert system, prompting us to take action and get ourselves safely out of harm's way. For example, if we're about to be attacked by a bear, our natural fear response will be activated so that we can respond, which is what we call fight, flight, or freeze. Because our bodies work on efficiency, the body systems that we don't need at that moment shut down, and the ones that we do need are ramped up high. In a bear attack, we don't need to worry about digestion, so our body shuts that down. We do need more adrenaline, so our heart starts to beat faster, sending more blood to our muscles, allowing us to fight or run away. But what happens when the threat is prolonged, and there's no clear or immediate action to take that will keep us safe? Our bodies still react as if we're in danger and keep us in survival mode. This could be in the form of headaches, heart racing, numbness, stomach butterflies, sweating, difficulty breathing, and an inability to focus. Staying in that heightened place of fear without resolution can have pretty damaging effects on us, especially in developing bodies. Your children might not be able to label their physical reactions as fear, so be on the lookout for stomach aches, headaches, changes in behavior, crying, and clinginess. Bear with me for just a little bit longer, because understanding the connection between your brain and your body will make it easier to break down the thought cycle, pause it when you need to, and teach your children how to do that too. Here's what's happening. Our brain thinks a thought, danger. Our bodies get that message and respond, I feel scared, do something. So we respond in a variety of ways. I'll call this the fear cycle. A panicky thought leads to a panicky feeling, which leads to a panicky reaction, which leads to more panicky thoughts, and so on. Getting caught in this loop means existing in a cycle of fear that is hard to stop, but there are things that you can do to pause the cycle, regain control, and bring your body and mind back to a calmer, more relaxed state. Before we dive in, I want to stress how important it is for you as a parent to make sure that you address your worries, concerns, and fears surrounding the coronavirus. Children take their cues from us, and they can sense our fear. So if we haven't properly dealt with and learned how to manage our own fears, our attempts to help our children calm down are not going to be that effective. There's a reason why on airplanes they say, in case of an emergency, put your oxygen mask on first before you put on your child's. Consider this that emergency. Make sure that your oxygen mask is on and that you're okay before you can help your child put on theirs. The first thing we'll look at is our thoughts. Imagine your mind is a movie screen with an endless stream of thoughts running across it. When we get stuck in a fear loop, we're latching on to one of these thoughts and allowing it to take over. A really good way to illustrate this for our children is using bubbles. The bubbles are our thoughts just streaming by. When we get scared, we're latching onto a scary thought and not letting it go. The fear monster is usually awakened when the information we are getting is confusing, when we don't know what is going to happen, and when we feel helpless or powerless. When talking to your kids about the virus, understand that these are probably the underlying thoughts behind their fears. Children tend to think that the worst is going to happen, so imagine what they're feeling when the news, the media, and the adults around them are catastrophizing too. Be mindful of what your children are exposed to, including the kinds of conversations you have in front of them. Keeping all of that in mind, here are some tips on how to have a conversation with your child about the virus. 1. Get a sense of what their fear is by asking them what they've heard so far and what they're actually afraid of. 2. Teach them what a virus is and that it's not something new. They've already had and recovered from a virus if they've ever had a cold. 3. Use reliable sources and get accurate facts. Reassure them that not everyone who gets the virus dies. Most people have mild symptoms and recover quickly, and that children are not being affected in the same way. 4. Let your children know that there are lots of smart people out there working hard to keep us safe. You can even look up viruses and conditions we've had in the past that scientists have found cures for. 5. If your child asks you something that you don't know the answer to, it's okay to not know. You don't have to know everything. You can say, "That's a great question. Let's look it up." Once again, make sure you use reliable sources. Feeling like you have no control is a huge fear monster activator. When talking about the coronavirus, discuss things that your children can do to have more control by staying healthy and doing what they can to not spread the virus without knowing. 1. Wash your hands well, which means around 20 seconds. 2. Use this to your advantage and get your kids to eat their vegetables and get more sleep. A healthy immune system is a key factor in staying healthy, so encourage your children to eat well, eat their vegetables, and go to bed on time. 3. Clean your room. At first, I was going to include this as a joke to get our kids to clean their rooms, but then I realized this is probably a good idea. Since the virus can live on inanimate objects, it would make sense to get some good cleaning done now. And finally, you can use some of the coping skills that I'll discuss further on in this video. The fear monster isn't always rational, so you might have to do a lot of talking and reassuring. A great way to help children isolate, understand, and process their thoughts is by creating something to represent that thought, which helps turn something difficult to conceptualize into something they can actually visualize. You can make this fun and use Play-Doh or model magic to make something like this. Once it's made, you and your child can dialogue with the thought. Having your child repeat the things you told him to the thought is a great way to really drive the message home. Observe. "Hello, thought. What do you have to say?" "I'm scared I'm going to catch the virus." "Oh, that sounds really scary." "Have you ever had a virus?" "No." "Actually, you have. The last time you had a cold, that was a virus." "It was?" "Yep. You didn't feel great, but you got better pretty soon." "Oh, I didn't know that." Finally, negative thinking can really exacerbate the fear monster. It isn't easy to find positives in a situation like this, but if school gets canceled and you are quarantined, you can use it as an opportunity to do something fun together as a family that you normally wouldn't have had time to do. The next stop on our fear cycle is feelings. When we think a thought, our body responds with emotions and sensations, which we actually feel with our bodies. If we think the thought, "I will get sick," then we feel afraid and can experience things like heart palpitations, feeling hot or lightheaded or dizzy. Feelings are like children who need attention. If you don't give them attention, they'll just do whatever they can to make things worse until you stop and focus on them. Sometimes the only thing that feelings really need is a little bit of attention. We have feelings because it's our body's way of communicating with us that a need has either been met or a need still has to be met. Feelings are never wrong because they relate to how we experience life and what we personally need to do about it. Differentiating between thoughts and feelings can help us as parents separate fact from feeling. Faulty thinking can be disproven, but feelings just need to be validated. When talking to your child about the coronavirus, try and focus on what they're feeling. Ask them, what are they feeling? And then accept and validate whatever the feeling is. Say things like, That must be really scary for you. If you say things like, oh, don't worry about it, children internalize that their feelings are insignificant, and that can cause a whole host of problems for them further down the line. You can also share with your child times you felt afraid as a child. This works so that one, they know that one can feel afraid and survive, and two, they'll feel that they're being heard and related to. So far, we've covered how thoughts influence our feelings, which in turn influences our behavior. If our child is stuck in a fear cycle, behavior might look like crying, refusing to go out or go to school, unexpected aggression, or it can be something they're internalizing. Learning and implementing coping skills is a great way to change behavioral patterns and redirect the cycle of fear. To learn these easy coping skills, just click on the next video to watch part 2.